I warn everyone that Andrew the cat and I are working on practicing to become the Guinness World Record holder of catnip mouse throwing. And we were up to 87 throws and returns yesterday. And he just brought the mouse back, even though I'm on the Zoom call. So I'm going to stop the video so I can continue working on our record here, which is an absurd personal pursuit, but I will do it anyway.
Well, we have, I am unable to rename Maggie. But we have, oh, there's Patty Irvin, who has just joined us. We have a quorum. We have 12 people present. Our minimum quorum is 10. So at 7:34, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Lisa Brown, we normally have, I'm going to test your former Director of Commerce skills and put you on the spot. We normally have opening words. And we switched to opening words from the Pledge of Allegiance because that got sort of routine. So I'm just wondering if you could, off the top of your head, give us some opening words, whether they're inspirational, whether they're patriotic, whether they are whatever they would like to be, and that way we will kick off the meeting.
Well, thank you for doing that, Dave, because I'm going to need to get that muscle back in order, right? Like for campaigning, you got to be able to just go with whatever the situation hands you. So I will accept the challenge. And for opening words, I will offer, first of all, it's really great to see you all. And I am speaking to you from my house in Spokane on the banks of the Spokane River. And so I will do an acknowledgement of the Spokane tribes and other tribes that came here to fish and trade. And I think it's significant that we always acknowledge that heritage and be mindful of what happened here before settlers came, and also the commitment that tribal peoples have had to think generationally behind and in front of them is also very relevant for us today. And then I'll also just add a quote that is one of my favorites. It's Louisa May Alcott, and it's appropriate for what my current venture is, and for many of us during many phases of our life. And I am not afraid of storms, for I am still learning how to sail my ship. I'll leave you with that.
That's very, very beautiful. Thank you so much. The proposed agenda was sent out with the call to meeting. And at this point in time, I would entertain a motion for either approval of the agenda or if there's any changes that anybody wants to make to the proposed agenda.
Move we approve the agenda.
Been moved by Karen Mobley and seconded by Marianne McCurdy. Is your waving, Marianne, an affirmation of a second? Any discussion about the agenda? None appearing. All those in favor of approving the agenda as distributed, please say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? The motion has been approved. Because tax season ended last night at 11:45 p.m. for me, which is before everybody came on, Karen Mobley was indicating that her CPA had been overwhelmed like I was, and some of my clients got involuntarily extended. I did not have the ability to send out the financial report, but I do want to let everybody know where we stand. We have two accounts with the Public Disclosure Commission. The first account is a non-exempt account. And in PDC lingo, that means that it can be used for anything that we want to spend it on, including candidates. The second account is an exempt account, and the exempt account can be spent on party building type things. So, for example, our Zoom subscription is paid for out of the exempt account, things like that. And we are currently averaging in the account that can be spent on candidates about $30 a month in contributions. We have a current balance of $291.62 at the end of March. And in the exempt account, we're averaging about $34 a month in contributions. And our operating expenses are about $33 a month. Since our reorganization meeting, our last meeting in December, we received a $2,000 donation from the Washington Education Association into the exempt account, the party building account. And what they asked us to do with that $2,000 was to find struggling county parties in Eastern Washington and support them. And so at the next state party meeting in Seattle, which is going to be at the beginning of May, the first weekend of May, it's my goal to try to find out who those struggling county parties are. I know Lincoln County is a prime candidate, as are some of the counties to the north and maybe one or two counties to the south, and we'll do our best. We've currently got $4,190 in that account, but $2,190 is our own money, and $2,000 is money that we were asked to pass along to struggling county parties. Does anybody have any questions about money? And we're current with our Public Disclosure Commission filings. And for those that might not remember, as a CPA, I'm also not only your chair, but I'm also your treasurer, because you can't let a CPA not be treasurer. We sort of get control freaks about that sort of stuff. Karen, you had a question?
So, David, is the money coming to the third LD because the struggling county parties do not have functioning e-boards with treasurers? Is that the idea?
Yeah. So, for example, Lincoln County was dormant and had no representation at the state at all. And so Lincoln County, through the work of Jeffrey Robinson, who was the former and is now the current chair of the Chairs Organization, he and I worked like the Dickens in the fall to find people in Lincoln County to bring that county party back to life. And we found somebody. They are currently acting as both chair and state committee member. We found them by actually sending letters to 40 people that we could identify as strong Democrats. 2 people bit and responded to the letters, and then 1 turned out to be interested. And so by getting them some money to get, in effect, they don't have anything. So if we can give them $400 or $500, that'll help them get up off the ground. And the county parties to our north are typically, Lisa, as a former congressional candidate, would you describe the county parties to our north as pretty much ruby red?
Well, however, the counties themselves have a high percentage of Republicans. There are some quite passionate Democrats of all of across the spectrum, from moderate to quite progressive, that also in Perry, Stevens, and Ponderay.
Yeah, and so to the extent that we find some county parties that are struggling, and not just because you're ruby red doesn't mean that you're struggling. You can have a very active party organization. But Lincoln County, so for example, is a prime example. There was 1 elected precinct committee officer in Lincoln County. Jeffrey Robinson helped make sure that we had somebody who could, in effect, sign for the reorganization meeting. And then I was able to identify somebody to recruit to be the, in effect, chair and state central, both chair and state central committee member for Lincoln County. And so they're desperate for funds because, they should get a PO box, they should get a website presence, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where that $2,000 is going to go for. I'll let the executive board of the third confirm, what the use of the funds is, because I cannot spend the LD's money on my own, but I can certainly make recommendations based on needs. But 2,000 of that $4,190 really isn't ours. The other $2,190 has been stewarded for the last couple of years to be able to spend on party building activities for the third. So Karen, excellent question. Any other questions that people might have? Feel free to just unmute yourself and pipe in or raise your hand, whatever you think is easiest. Carmela.
David, I have participated in a couple of the online meetings for the Rural and Ag Caucus, as well as for the 9th LD's meetings. And there are parties that would like to be more active, but are having a tough time pulling money together. So I can perhaps at the next Rural and Ag Caucus meeting mention that if somebody's got a specific project that they've got something they just need a little seed funding for to make happen. I don't know how you'd like me to direct people to you or.
Well, the WEA asked us to focus on counties as opposed to projects. The finance committee of the state party, of which I am a co-chair, the other co-chair is Julie Johnson, the former state party treasurer. The finance committee at the state party level will be earmarked. I believe the proposed budget from the state party is $50,000 for the finance committee to give to projects for local party organizations. So that's going to be where the request for projects would come in.
Okay, I didn't mean projects as a term of art. I meant, for example, because they don't have a post office box, or because they don't have a paid Zoom account, or something like that. That it would still be
okay. What I'd like to suggest is why don't we do it in person at the state party meeting in May? For those that are able to attend, because it's not like I've been asked to give it to legislative districts. I've been asked to give it to county parties, and we've started some outreach for that. But if you hear of somebody in particular, whisper in my ear, and I'll make sure that I make contact with them then. Any other questions about money? So if you're not contributing to the third LD right now, I don't think we have a huge need on the party building side. But if you might be interested in helping candidates that would be wanting to run for office, whether it's school board or city council or council president or mayor in this cycle, at the third LD website, which is third, THIRDLD.org, there is a contribute page, and you've got the ability to, we typically ask, I think the maximum recurring contribution we have is $10 a month, but we've got plenty of people that are giving $3 and $5 a month. And so that if you are interested in setting aside a small amount each month to go into what we call the Progressive Candidates Fund, we would welcome your contributions. I'm going to morph into report from the chair, which is the next item on the agenda. And so the state party reorganized back in January. The chair's organization reorganized, I believe it was in March. Reorganization, if you remember, is the election of officers. I was reelected to another 2-year term as the state party vice chair. And Jeffrey Robinson was, who was a former chair of chairs, was elected as chair of chairs for the next 2 years. Jeffrey is in the Franklin County area, so east of the Cascades. And Shasti and I have been chatting a lot since her election as state party chair. And I believe she's going to make an excellent state party chair. She already did a tour of Eastern Washington over the last 2 weeks, and I had my head down, was working on tax returns. Carmela, did Shasti come to Spokane County, or did she venture to the other counties east of the Cascades?
As far as I could tell, she was only south of us. I believe she was down Whitman, Walla Walla in that area.
Yeah, she was supposed to have been at the Foley Legacy dinner, but unfortunately came down with COVID just before that, so she was not able to attend that dinner. But she is incredibly aware of issues in rural Washington and issues east of the Cascades. And certainly one of the things I do is don't talk about what I talk about with the chair. But I do have the opportunity, as you might expect, to be able to whisper into the chair's ear almost any time I want. And so I try to keep her informed as to what's going on in our neck of the woods and what our needs and responsibilities are. At this point, I'd like to open it up. Oh, Carmel, go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick thing. I did put a save the date notice into her staff's ear for July 22nd for the salmon feed. So if we can keep that up, let her know that's probably going to be one of our larger events this year. That would be great.
Okay, very cool.
July 22nd, Manitou Park.
And is that Manitou? So it's in the Manitou shelter, the big Manitou shelter?
Yep.
Very nice.
And it'll be a little later in the day than it was in 2022. So it should be a cooler temperature, and it's a much more shaded and green space than what we had last year.
Okay, very nice. Lou Hill, do you have any comments that you'd like to pass along as another officer from the third LD? I see you're up. The voice icon just went on, and I see a camera icon just came on. So, Lou, feel free to pass along any comments or reports that you might like to.
I mean, I wish I could be more useful, but I don't have anything to report. I think in terms of like organizing that's happening outside of the party, I feel really confident that things are going on, which is really exciting. I've been able to be in contact with SCAR and the progressive one, I can't remember, but most of the C4s. And I think what else is really exciting is Initai, our Group Health Foundation, made a major investment in local nonprofit C4s. And they're all activist related C4s. So Spectrum got a C4, SCAR got a C4, and there's a couple other ones that got significant multi-year funding for C4s. I can also share that the Empire Health Foundation is going through the process of rebranding. And with that rebranding, taking more of a social justice lens to how we invest in the 7 counties that we serve. We're also enacting our C4 arm, but we really want to use our C4 arm not necessarily to do the political action, but to really raise up the voices of the activist C4s that have been invested in the region. And so we're really hoping to not use our position of privilege and power to do that. We're hoping to be able to use our influence at the policy in the state and county and city levels and the various counties that we serve in, but not necessarily do the specific work, but use our privilege and our resources and our lobbying to work at those state and not quite the federal level yet, although we have been discussing that as well. So I think that's good stuff to report. It's definitely not specifically for Democrats, but it's definitely work that is along our agenda lines.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
William. You had your hand up for a moment. Was that the applause hand, William? Okay, I'm gonna assume yes. Does anybody have any questions about the officer reports? Okay. Next item of business is election of officer. John Lemus, who had been elected at the reorganization meeting as a member of the representative from the third LD to the county party's executive board, unfortunately has left the city of Spokane to move to the Olympia area, which created a vacancy. The reason we're meeting tonight is because our bylaws say that within 60 days after a vacancy occurs, we've got to hold a meeting to elect a replacement. The timing of John's resignation was fortuitous from my perspective, because I believe this is either day number 59 or day number 60 since John's resignation, and it is also the day after my tax busy season is over. And I would like to thank Carmela. Normally the county party's executive board would meet tonight, but I promised to send her cashews and alcoholic beverages and things like that if she would defer the meeting of the county party's executive board for a week, so that the third LD could fund its bylaws obligation to have our meeting tonight. So Carmela, thank you so much for that.
Teamwork makes the dream work, David.
Thanks. And so we did not have anyone self-nominate in advance of the meeting to be elected as the county party's representative to the from the third LD. So I will open up the nominations from the floor. The only requirement is because Kristen is a female identifying representative to the county party's executive board. It does require that the person who wants to run be not female identifying. And so is there anyone who would like to place their name in the hat to be a representative from the third LD, the county party's executive board? And let me briefly describe what the job entails as an either enticement or disincentive to run. County party typically meets, Carmela, third Wednesday of each month, if I recall correctly, roughly about 7 o'clock at night in a either hybrid, or eventually my guess is we may go back to in-person meetings, but currently it is hybrid opportunities. And then there may be special meetings from time to time if the chair or the leadership team at the county party needs advice and guidance from the executive board. The individual who is the county party's rep is also a member of the third LD's executive board, which meets at the call of the chair to act on business in between the third LD PCO meetings. So that's what the job entails. Relatively light from a commitment perspective, except that the county party does rely on the representatives, the 4 representatives from the third LD, which are the chair, vice chair, and the 2 e-board representatives. Their executive board is rather large, and sometimes it's difficult to make quorum. So it is helpful for the person to either attend or give their proxy to another executive board member so that the county party has a quorum. And so does anybody have any questions about the county party executive board position that we're going to be looking to fill tonight? If there are no questions, I'll open it up for self-nominations. Donovan.
Yeah, I'm just willing to do it if nobody else is. I don't like to stomp on other people's interests, but I have the time and ability to do the job if nobody else wants it that qualifies for it.
Okay. Anybody else want to do a self-nomination? Second call for self-nominations. And a third and final call for self-nominations. Donovan, I know who you are. Do you want to just briefly give a 30-second or a minute bio of you've been a PCO before, you've been active in the party before. Do you want to just, for those that might not know who you are, just sort of briefly describe who you are and what you do and what you enjoy about the Democratic Party?
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to be brief because I know you guys don't like to be taking too long. But yeah, I'm Donovan. I also go by the last name of DeLeon. So sometimes you'll hear me go by the last name of DeLeon. I consider myself a native to the area of Spokane. I've got a bachelor's degree in political science, and as Davis said, I have had experience as a PCO before. I was originally appointed, but this time I've been elected. And I've also served as the chair of the Washington State Stonewall Democrats, as well as other officers and other places in the party. And so I haven't been as active the last 2 or 3 years, but I had some health issues I was dealing with and COVID and but I've gotten a lot better now. So I'm trying to get active again. And I am very interested right now because of all the things that are going on in the party. We got, transgender issues. We have women's rights issues. We have a lot of crime and housing issues that I think we need to be addressing as well. So I'm also starting to get active with the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council. I'd like to see more PCOs involved when they're neighborhood councils, because we can make a difference there too. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Donovan. There being no further nominations, I will declare nominations closed and ask for a motion to elect Donovan Arnold by acclamation to the position of Executive Board Representative to the County Party.
So moved.
Been moved by Carmela. Is there a second?
Jack Donahue, second.
Jack, I hear you. I also saw Kristen unmute herself, so we'll have co-seconders. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Donovan, congratulations. You've been elected to the position of 3rd LD E-Board Representative to the County Party. And Carmela, would you like to tell him when his first meeting is?
Yes, thank you, David. Donovan, for your parting gift. We'll sign you up for a meeting a week from tonight at 7 p.m.
Week from tonight. Okay, 7 p.m. Are we doing that online or are we doing that in person?
You have the option of coming to the county office or coming online via Zoom, and we'll send out the link and notice and associated documents.
Okay. Yeah, I prefer to do it in person, but I know that's not always possible. So that's the 26th, right?
It is.
Okay. Just want to make sure. A lot of times people give weird dates like the Wednesday after the next Wednesday or the day after Easter or something like that.
Right. No, because of this meeting, we pushed it out to the 4th Wednesday, which is April 26th. Some people who come in person show up a little bit early and, bring some food. We can get a pizza or whatever.
Yeah,
so feel free to join us at the office. We'd be very happy to see you there.
Oh, where are you meeting, by the way?
At the office. We're at 1106 North Washington.
Okay,
It's
1106.
Southeast corner.
Donovan,
of Washington.
Donovan, I'll be in touch with you tomorrow and get you your 3rd LD email address and work with you to get logged into that. And that's where the county notifications go, as well as 3rd LD Executive Board things. So we'll get you up and running, and we may need to use Steve Kirby as a backup just in case, since Steve is more tech focused than I am, but I've been known to struggle. So congratulations, Donovan.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
Appreciate it.
yeah. And Lisa, I'm going to tee you up, and maybe after you're done speaking, you might want to have Brian talk a little bit about what you and Betsy are doing and make a pitch for things. Brian, because of tax season, I've not returned or RSVP'd to your email invitation, but I'd like Lisa to speak first, and then Brian to talk about how PCOs from the 3rd can be very supportive of Lisa's campaign and Betsy's campaign. So Lisa, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David, and everyone who's here. And yes, I will pass the baton to Brian, who's been working on this with us, the event that we're going to have, and let him describe it a little bit, the event on Sunday. But before that, I'm just going to say a few words and give you an opportunity if you have comments or questions for me. I look forward to other opportunities to talk about some of these issues in more depth. Just to frame where I'm at this evening, literally, And I don't think it will interrupt me, but it might. So I'm just going to tell you in advance. I moved to Spokane in my 20s to visit a friend, never left, got a job teaching at Eastern, and had the amazing privilege of serving in the legislature, having lived here about 10 years and having been involved in activist politics more than electoral politics at that point in time. And so given that that was in the 1990s that I first ran for office, I'm not going to give you the whole biography. Anybody who's interested in that, who hasn't followed it, could go to lisabrownformayor.com and look at those details. I'd rather talk about where our city is and where we're going to go. But just to frame that, having moved here as a graduate student who grew up in Illinois and went to graduate school in Colorado in my 20s, I'm now in my 60s, and I have grandchildren in the basement. So I love the city, and this chapter of public service for me is really about that, and it's about giving back to the city that's given a lot to me, and the city in which I met my husband, had my son. Oh, I guess I did that in the opposite order. Had my son, met my husband, and now have my grandchild. His parents, one is working as a server and one is working as a gig musician. And I think a lot about what the kind of affordability and quality of life that this community had when I was in my 20s, and how it's deteriorated for young people in their 20s now, and what we need to do to turn that around so that we can build on our strengths in the neighborhoods that we have, and really think about everybody's family and everybody's kids and grandkids. And that is a big motivation and passion for me. Briefly, my contrast with the existing mayor, my opponent, Mayor Woodward, is that she ran proclaiming that actually experience wasn't a very important qualification for the job, and that she would come up with Spokane solutions, and that crime and homelessness were the major challenges. And I think most people would tell you that 4 years later, there's very little that the administration has to show for that platform. And in fact, if not stuck in neutral, Spokane has rolled backwards in many ways. And proclamations such as "we make it too easy to be homeless" really display a very significant lack of understanding of the forces that have created these challenges for so many people and families in Spokane. Briefly, I'm going to talk about those challenges and talk about how we could come together and mobilize resources and actually move forward on those challenges. But that's not the only thing I'm going to focus on, because I think it creates a little bit of a doom cycle if you only talk about the challenges and you don't also talk about the strengths and opportunities that we have to build this community. And I've learned something about those strengths, both from my time in the legislature, which was like a 20-year seminar in Spokane, and its organizations, its neighborhoods, the dreams and aspirations that organizations and people have, the challenges that they have, the things they like and don't like about both state and local government. But also, we are the center of a regional economy. An urban area doesn't exist without the suburban and rural areas around it. And wouldn't it be great if we had political leadership that was willing to acknowledge and embrace that actually what happens in the Valley and Airway Heights, and our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the west is also significant, that the region matters, that we need to build that regional economy, build pathways to good jobs for people who grow up here, and not just import people to fill those jobs, but actually build pathways so people can have those jobs. So I will talk and work, and I'm happy this evening if you have questions to talk a little bit more about issues around community safety, issues around the incredible challenge we have to build more housing for all, affordable housing, middle housing, housing in the urban area in order to support our schools and our transit system and the vitality of the neighborhoods that we currently have. But also, I want to acknowledge that there's just been dysfunction at City Hall. Too many vacancies, too many unfilled positions, a little bit of people coming in and exiting quickly, and a lack of sustainable budgeting practices. And I look forward to working with the City Council, all members from all 3 districts, and really talking about the issues that matter to the neighborhoods and to those districts, which are different, whether it's Chief Gary Park, where I was last week, or Latah Valley, or West Hills, or in Hilliard, wherever it is, and whatever it is, those are unique challenges. And it would be great to have a city administration and city council working together to elevate and address some of those issues. I also want to say at my time at Commerce, I really delved into and understood that my previous views around racial equity in our communities and other types of historically marginalized and underrepresented communities, that my understanding was not as deep as it should be. I feel like I've really been on a journey, and it's not enough to say it. It's not enough to just understand it on an intellectual level, but I've really tried to listen and feel and understand the significance of addressing those historical disparities that have so profoundly impacted communities of color, LGBTQIA communities, immigrants, and others. And so I hope to be able to bring to the city experience from my time at WSU, where we took on a big challenge, creating the state's second medical school when they said it couldn't be done, and things that I learned at Commerce from working with regions and working during the pandemic, particularly to try to get resources to under-resourced and under-invested communities. And I want to bring that to the city, set a big table and serve everyone. I think I'm inspired there by Joe Biden, who says it's not red states and blue states, because I'm very aware, and how could we not be very aware of the significant political differences that are in every in our country, but in every state, in every community, in every neighborhood, in most of our families, if your families are like mine. So I'm very aware of those, and I'm very proud to be a Democrat. At the same time, I think it's incumbent upon us to always try to work to transcend those, to find the common values, to listen to the experiences that might help elicit the community and the things that we want to work on together. So that's what I'll bring to the city, should I have the opportunity to be elected. We've got a good shot in 2018, despite how nasty that race was. My campaign won in the city by double digits and gained plenty of votes that would be necessary to win the race in the city. But I'm not going to take that for granted. We're working very hard and encouraging everyone to sign up to volunteer. We'll run a very aggressive field campaign, work with my friend Betsy Wilkerson, who's running for city council president, and council candidates that are already declared. I've been meeting with and looking forward to working with or serving with. And I do want to let Brian say a little bit about our event on Sunday, and then I'm happy to take a few of your questions. And I hope I haven't overstepped my time, David, but I'm sure if I did, you'd tell me.
You're doing great, Brian. Just a reminder that we are being broadcast on YouTube to those who are not precinct committee officers. So don't tell all the secrets of the recipe in the soup, but be sure to tell us how good the soup is and what's planned to be served on Sunday as soup.
Okay. Well, that means I'm done. Anyway, thank you. So first, to get the logistics out of the way, this is a meeting that's going to take place at the Lisa Brown for Mayor campaign office, which is 709 North Monroe. And it's going from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And I understand there will be ice cream if that's an incentive. And we chose Sunday for one reason, was because parking is free. And if you've been in that area of town, you know parking can be difficult. And so it's free on Sunday, so please come. The other part of the logistic is we ask that you let me know you're coming, because we will prepping some materials that are individualized for you and your precinct. And by knowing that in advance, we can get it done in advance. So what we're doing is, and let me just do kind of a data dump. I don't know why this is showing Jack Donahue, because I'm not Jack, but there it is. So as a PCO, I believe that all politics is local. We all know that phrase from across everything, but oftentimes local means the city, the town. And we're going to approach it that local is the precinct. All politics is happening inside our precinct. And as a PCO, I should be driven to try and make that precinct come in with the majority of the votes going for Lisa and for Betsy. As we began to look at that situation, I can't see it. Can anybody see that, or are we just seeing Jack Donahue's thing?
I can see it, Brian.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Anyway, what that is red and green, who voted, what precincts voted for Ben, and what precincts voted for Nadine. On the second page, this is still mostly the third LD. You see a lot of red boxes, which means those precincts voted for Nadine over than Ben. Even though they were only separated by about 800 votes at the end, it's still a trend that I think we ought to look at. We ought to be talking about. And it doesn't include on here the ones where we have no PCO whatsoever. So what we're trying to do on Sunday is focus on the word enablement. How do we better enable the PCO to bring their precinct in for Lisa? And what's getting in the way? What obstacles are out there that's happening? Well, we've noticed in the past that sometimes words of an upcoming event don't get shared with the PCO until that very day, which makes it impossible for us to roll that information out into our precinct to improve turnout for meetings and for events. And so that's a problem. And we've talked, talking with Adam McDaniel, Lisa's campaign manager, about timelines, about getting access to calendars and then sharing that with the PCOs that are in the 3rd and those of the 6th that are in the city of Spokane. So enablement, let's know the events in advance so that we can turn around and share that inside our precincts. Other things is some people have difficulty accessing Vote Builder if they have access to it at all. So finding the likely voters that we're interested in, we hope to make it a little bit easier by when you come on Sunday, we will have a list of some likely voters inside each precinct of those people who are attending that we can share, which makes them less dependent on Vote Builder, but they still get access to contact information, if you will. The other is to be very frank, is to sit down and have a face-to-face as much as possible with Lisa and Betsy. You know, where we might say, what if someone in my precinct questions your blah, 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 blah? How would you like me to respond? So that we have a uniformity, a consistent message going out and actually coming from the PCOs outward. So I guess in terms of enablement, we're trying to figure out ways that we can work with the PCOs so that they can make contact with likely voters well before October, and along the way to build their involvement, to get them momentum going, get them out to events as much as possible, because we don't want them to be empty rooms or minor rooms. Those are the primary things we're trying to accomplish on Sunday, and I think it's going to be one hell of a meeting. Hope you agree. So if you're going to come, and I'm talking to you, David, if you're going to come, send me an email, click on the evite that you received, whatever, to let me know what's coming so we can prepare some day handouts.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian and or Lisa?
Brian, it's Jack.
Go ahead, Jack.
And as you know, I've RSVP'd for the event on Sunday, and I'll be there, of course. And I think that some of us who've been precinct committee officers for a number of years, I think I'm approaching a decade in formerly 6204, now 3230. I mean, there's sort of the old-fashioned ground game approach to it, right? I think I've knocked on every door in my precinct, every election for every candidate in every cycle for at least 5 cycles going now. And that shows results, right? I mean,
yeah.
Lisa, the last time you ran in all of Spokane County, the precinct that had the most votes was my precinct. And I think that's by virtue of going out and beating those doors down, right? And knocking on the doors and telling people they need to get out for the primaries, they need to get out for the general elections, right? I'm doing it again in support of course, my wife is a council candidate this cycle, but of course, in support of you and of Betsy and everybody else who's running on our ticket. But I think that old-fashioned ground game is sort of underutilized and underappreciated in a lot of cases. And to the extent, like Brian, you were saying, getting in there and vote builder, because I think it's intimidating for a lot of people, and giving those lists of doors to go knock so that they know our face. They know that you own that precinct. We have to own our precincts, right? They have to know who we are, and we have to be in their face, in a nice way, that they know that this is we're putting our flag down. This is a Democratic precinct. We own it. And these candidates are going to win this precinct, and are you with us, kind of thing, right? So I think to the extent that we can enable that old school, old-fashioned ground game is how Democrats win, in my opinion.
Well, I agree with you, Jack. And if I can respond. When we look back at 2019 mayoral election, Ben got approximately 33,500 votes. Nadine got about 800 more. We estimated, again, Anna McDaniel and myself estimated that for Lisa to win, we need to have votes of around 37,000 to 40,000 votes, okay, which represents a 10% growth over what Ben accomplished as a minimum. Okay, so if we ask the precinct to aim to bring in 10% more than Ben got, that's going to take work. That's going to take a lot of activity and outreach throughout the election, the campaign year. And just like Jack was just saying, it seems like there's a lot of PCOs who get overwhelmed, not only by Vote Builder, but with the idea that they have to knock on every door. So if we can give them information, which we plan to do on Sunday, it says you don't have to go door to door by yourself. We have volunteers. What you need to do is coordinate that with the volunteer coordinator and make it happen. Okay, you don't need access to Vote Builder. You need to know what piece of information you're looking for, and we're going to give you some ways to go and get that sort of thing. So the idea of overwhelming is a very real possibility that Jack talks about. I got to tell you, after sending out God knows how many emails on there and Evite, a number of postings, we still only have 10 PCOs showing up. Okay, And of those 10, they all seem to be on the call tonight. Okay, so they're active participants, but the ones that we need in those other PCs are harder to reach, but we're hoping to get momentum going there as well.
Kristen.
Oh, sorry. I forgot my question after what he said. What was I
In
gonna
that case,
say?
I'll answer yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'll think of it.
42.
42, that's right. You're typing.
Let me talk a little bit about Vote Builder access. So Lisa's campaign has applied for and received Vote Builder access from the state party. And so that if you want to help Lisa and any other candidates that might be on Lisa's coattails, you can go through Lisa's campaign and get spoon-fed Vote Builder information that will help Lisa's campaign. We've got a silo between campaigns and the party so that party access to Vote Builder cannot be used for specific campaigns because of PDC requirements. So if you're wanting to knock targeted doors in your precinct for a particular candidate like Lisa, Brian's event and Lisa's campaign is the way to go to get access to Vote Builder for that purpose. If you are just simply interested in raising your presence in your precinct, but do not wish to act either as a representative of Lisa's campaign or any other specific candidate, then come to me. I'll spoon feed you Vote Builder from the party's perspective. But if the goal of all of us is to elect a better mayor than we have now, which candidly realizing that this is on Vote Builder is not going to be difficult to elect a better mayor than what we have now. The more effective way to do things is to go through Lisa's campaign or Betsy's campaign, because Betsy's campaign, excuse me, I believe also has access to Vote Builder. So I would encourage all the PCOs, and I will be encouraging, now that tax season is over, all the PCOs to either attend the meeting on Sunday if their schedules permit, or to reach out to the appropriate people in Lisa's campaign to do something and actually help increase the number of like-minded neighbors to participate in this year's campaign. It's incredibly important for the next 4 years for Spokane. It's incredibly important for the area around Spokane and all of Eastern Washington, because we're leaders in Eastern Washington. So,
can I add to that, David?
Yep.
Can I add to that? Again, to reiterate, access to Vote Builder is available through Lisa's campaign. I still find it a difficult piece of software. I mean, spoon-fed is the right word, and I'd love to be fed that way. But to shortchange, it's a short time. If you come on Sunday and let us know you're coming, we will print out that information so you can walk away with it on Sunday on a hard copy.
Hey, Brian, it's Jack again. Is that going to be kind of from Vote Builder, emphasize on people who turn out for primaries, people who turn out for general election by Vote Builder score, or kind of what's the methodology?
It would be score, as well as the score really dictates if they're strong Democrat,
likely voter,
Democrat, independent. Yeah, mainly by score.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the work you did on this and put it together, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. One last thing about Betsy is, if we look again at the 2019 election, Brian did not get as many votes as Ben did. Okay, there's always a little bit of fall off, but he did not. He got actually only 50 votes less than Ben did, but there's a little fall off. On the other side, the Republican candidate, and I'm blanking on her name right now, they had fallout on that side as well, and it was
Cindy Wendell. Cindy Wendell.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was actually a couple thousand of a vote of a fallout. which is great and enabled Brienne to win. Had she gotten the same amount of votes as Nadine did, she would be the current president of the city council. Because Nadine got more than Brienne did as well. So we bring that up as part of that whole strategy of getting the word out inside of our precincts and sharing that both on Lisa's behalf and on Betsy's behalf as well. That's it.
So I took advantage of the opportunity to RSVP to the Evite just now. If you're looking for it in your email, it would have gone to the email, Brian, that they used to file for their PCO candidacy. Is that correct?
It comes directly to me, and I saw yours.
I know, but the addresses that you used, the email addresses that you used, were email addresses, the ones when people filed to run for PCO. Is that correct?
I think so. Yes, it's through the.
Okay, and so if you have just one email address that you use for everything, it would have, that Evite was sent out on April 9th in the morning. And if you use a special email address when you filed to run for PCO, that's where you're going to find that Evite invitation if you used a non-public email address when you filed to run for PCO. And I'll forward the link when I send out my follow-up message tomorrow to the PCOs. Brian, if you know, I may be able to work with you for some point in time tomorrow to just make sure that you've got the best email addresses for the PCOs in the 3rd.
That would be great. There are a few blank spots.
Yep. And Kristen, I think you might have found a question to ask, so go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say, Brian, that I'm sorry that I can't attend on Sunday. Just to let you know, I would be there. I would like to help Lisa and Betsy Wilkerson soon with volunteering. Yeah, I think that was the only thing I wanted to say.
Okay, we'll miss you, but I understand.
I remember the other one. I think I know why the votes fell off for what was the Brienne's opposition. She I was around for those campaigns, and she sent out a flyer that made Brienne look, special, and it was incredibly insulting and rude and childish, and I think that turned off many of the voters, and that's why she had a big drop more than Brienne did. And I was around for that.
That's
campaign.
A good point.
So that's just something I wanted to mention that I remembered.
Forgot about that. I got that flyer myself. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's a good point.
Any questions for Lisa or Brian? Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Brian, thank you for spotlighting the event on Sunday. And Brian, why don't you and I chat tomorrow sometime, and we'll try to help nudge some folks to be able to attend in case the Evite lost, didn't make to somebody, or you didn't have the right email address for them.
Sounds great.
Lisa, go ahead.
Just thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian. And just want to say, I think it goes both ways. So I have a lot of volunteers signing up for my campaign, and we're going to stress with them the significance if they happen to be in a precinct without a PCO, that's another type of service that they could provide as well. And I'm hopeful that the campaign, being citywide and being very active and having a very active field campaign, will also be helpful, not just for the other candidates, but for the party as well.
That's great. Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Yep. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Take care.
We're going to move into good of the order at this particular point. Just a reminder, good of the order is great for general announcements. And Carmela, I know that the county party is going to have a PCO meeting sometime after the end of filing week. The third LD is going to have another PCO meeting sometime after the end of filing week, and we're not going to step on each other when we have those meetings. And typically the purpose of the PCO meetings after filing week is over. Filing week is that 5-day window from Monday through Friday where candidates can file to run for office, and that sort of cuts people off from running for office unless they choose to run a write-in campaign. So I know we've got 2 progressive candidates or 2 great candidates in Council District 2. We've got at least 1 candidate in Council District 3. I know there's some rumblings of candidacies in District 1. And so the purpose of the PCO meetings after filing week is to figure out, you know, do the PCOs at the county level and at the legislative district level wish to do any endorsements or certifications so that candidates can gain access to Vote Builder and they can begin the process of building relationships among precinct committee officers. So just keep an eye out. Carmela, has the date for the county party PCO meeting been set yet?
It has. And if I could, David, I want to mention a couple of other things. So
Sure.
First of all, last summer, we lost the chair of the certification and endorsements committee, and that was absent for almost a year, despite our having asked folks a number of times to step up. We were very fortunate. Ed Wood has stepped forward, and after consultations in accordance with the bylaws with the elected officers of the Spokane County Democrats, Ed Wood is now the chair of the certification and endorsement committee. And so people should keep an eye out for a request from Ed to support him in screening applications and helping make recommendations to the general body. The next thing in chronological order is next Thursday, April 27th, we are having a candidates information forum. And that is to share with PCOs and volunteers and anybody else who signed up in the last year or so to receive information from the Spokane County Democrats, to come and listen to the information that our operations team have pulled together about where we've got openings for PCOs, how each precinct lays down, not just in the legislative district and in the city council district, but in fire districts and water districts and school districts and cemetery districts, so that people who are interested in being active Democrats can find out what it takes, whether they're eligible because they live in one of those districts, and what it takes to file to become a candidate to serve in one of those roles, and what support the Spokane County Democrats has available to offer them. So we're seeing this both as a networking opportunity, an information opportunity, a chance to fill more of our PCO roles, as well as more of the ballots, so that Democrats, not just in the city of Spokane, but across Spokane County, have the opportunity to vote for Democrats up and down the ballot. So that'll be next Thursday, in April 27th. Doors open at 5:30, I think. Hopefully everybody in this call received an email invitation. It'll be at Hamilton Studio. Don Hamilton and Lorna St. John, always the host and hostess with the mostest. And so we'll be there and hope to see you there too. And then, yes, we are set for May. Darn it, I don't have that much of a calendar out in front of me, but the next PCO meeting will be, Steve, help me out here. It's the 24th of May, right? I'm pretty sure that what we've been doing is we'll have the May e-board meeting will be on May 17th, which is smack in the middle of filing week. And then the PCO meeting, the PCO meeting should be on May 24th at 7 p.m. And that will be a Zoom meeting.
Super. And then for the third LD, what we will do is probably sometime after the county party meeting. We deliberately chose not to have city council district candidates speak at this meeting because we wanted to have the focus of the discussion on the citywide races. But we will at our next PCO meeting, which will be sometime either in late May or early June, focus on the city council candidates that have declared and actually filed through the end of filing week, so we can get to know them better and figure out whether we wish to do any certifications or endorsements or simply network with those folks. And I know Jack's got a vested interest in that because his wife Cindy has filed to run in Council District 2. But we hopefully we'll have great candidates in all 3 council districts, and that way we can devote the focus of that meeting on the council districts and not the citywide races. Karen Mobley.
This isn't specifically a Democrats thing, but I have gotten some questions about this because of the article in the Inlander. I've been working actively with a group of mostly environmental organizations to look at not only saving Lincoln Park from the dog park invasion, but to try to get the Parks Department to develop a natural lands management plan for all of the urban natural areas. And I'm only mentioning this because I've gotten a lot of questions. We've created a new group, which is called SUN, Spokane Urban Nature, and we're collecting advocates and involvement from people who are interested in environmental issues within the urban area. If anybody is interested in being involved with that, I'm kind of the point person for our area of the South Hill. We will be doing some advocacy both with the city and with the county. I thought we were starting with the city, but oh boy, you know how it goes. It's a region, so we're doing that. I don't need anything from the Spokane County Democrats or the 3rd LD at this time, but I know people have been asking me about it, so I just thought I would mention it. Donovan was at the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council meeting when I was there the other night. We are organizing a nature event at Lincoln Park, which will be on May 13th, and we'll continue to do activities around that. So anyway, if anybody cares about it and wants to contact me, thank you. And thank you for your indulgence in the good of the order here.
Karen, I can walk across the street to Lincoln Park, so if you could keep me informed as to what's going on and opportunities there, I would appreciate that. Jack Donahue.
Oh, thank you, David. Quick one. We go to the order. Cindy Donahue, my wife's campaign kickoff party, is this coming Tuesday, April 25th at 5:30 p.m. at the Women's Club, where Lisa had her kickoff, which is at 1428 West 9th, which is basically the corner of West 9th and Cedar, about a stone's throw, in fact, from Carmela's place. So if you're able, stop by. We'll have some wine and a lot of good Democrat hobnobbing, what have you. And Cindy will be able to give her stump speech and be able to answer questions about herself and why she's running and why she thinks she's the best candidate for Council District 2. So if you could please make it, I would appreciate it if you'd like, and you'd definitely be welcome. Thanks, David.
Thank you so much, Jack. Any other good of the order items? Going once, going twice, going thrice. Without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Night all.
Thanks.
Thank you.